So Vuyo, how's it going to work, this rolling over of the academic year?
Well, the Minister of Higher Education, Shahan, is aware and as anxious, he says, as many South Africans about what may happen next. But he says that his priority and that of the executive is to actually save the academic year. And that is true for higher education, he says, as it is true for matriculants, for example, because remember, those who are doing matric this year, many of them will want to go to universities next year. So the question is, how is that going to work, and how may it affect universities who actually have to plan for their intake in the new year? So the point was making really was that everyone has to accept that with the way things are going, this year may actually extend to the new year, which will mean that academic activity at universities may start later than would be the case, in part because many people there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, which will not be completed by the end of the year. And of course, the universities will also have to wait for the matriculants who will be heading their way. Here's how he put it in a nutshell.
No, we are not yet considering cancelling the academic or the school year. That is why in our case we've got our rallying cry of hashtag save the academic year, hashtag save lives. We have not reached that stage as yet. We hope we do not. But it's very difficult to tell at the end of the day, depending on the trajectory, or as the scientific word goes, the epidemiology of the disease. We are trying all we can.
So outside this pandemic, the minister also saying that there are long-standing problems at universities and it must be dealt with.
Indeed. In fact, two reports. He released two reports today. One is a report of a task team that was headed by the Vice Chancellor of Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University. And that report was looking into sexual harassment and gender-based violence at universities. And then another report, which the minister released today, was looking at factors that are hindering the progress of black academics in particular at universities. Now, do you recall, Shahan, that this is a long-standing problem? People have been talking about it over the years, in fact, since the dawn of democracy. Now, that report is out and it is making several recommendations. The minister saying today that both reports are receiving his careful attention. Recommendations will be made, or they will be submitted to cabinet, whereafter decisions, some tough decisions, would have to be taken to deal with those problems. Take a listen to what he said right at the end, as after he told us what he was planning to do with both reports that he tabled today.
Racism and patriarchy are further issues that needs to be confronted, that are an impediment to the production of more black and women academics in South African universities. And
Blade Nzimande also speaking in his capacity as Science and Technology Minister, saying a government is looking into traditional medicine as a possible treatment for COVID-19.
Indeed, and this was, of course, part of a whole raft of measures that the minister said the Department of Science and Technology was busy with, in collaboration with several of the agencies, state-funded agencies that operate in this space. We're talking here about the CSIR and the Foundation for Research and Development, saying among the things that were being looked into was traditional African medicine, imishonyane, that people have been talking about throughout the course of our management of this pandemic, saying they are looking at scientific means and ways of integrating traditional African medicine, and progress is indeed being made in this regard. Take a listen to a bit of what he had to say around that.
We are in the process of implementing multiple interventions, including the use of African medicines as immune modulators and anti-coronavirus therapy or therapeutics. The program has been working with the African Medicines COVID-19 research team in researching several South African herbs and formulations with documented evidence for treatment of respiratory infections, signs and symptoms. One of the herbs our team is working on is what is known as Artemisia afra. In simple Nguni language, we are doing research on umhlonyane. As the Department of Science and Innovation, we have reassigned 15 million rands from existing indigenous knowledge projects to support COVID-19 interventions and have submitted proposals for additional funding, especially for clinical studies and also for small and medium enterprise support, agro-processing, and for job creation.
Our political editor, Vuyo Mboko.